The house stood at 112 Ocean Avenue, quiet and ordinary at first glance. A large Dutch colonial home overlooking the calm waters of Amityville, Long Island. White walls, dark shutters, perfectly symmetrical windows that seemed to stare back at anyone who lingered too long. To passers-by, it looked like a dream home. To the Lutz family, it would become something else entirely. In November of 1975, George and Kathy Lutz moved into the house with their 3 children. They were aware of its past. Just over a year earlier, 6 members of the DeFeo family had been brutally murdered in their sleep. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son, had confessed to the killings. The crime shocked America, but the price was low, too low to ignore. The Lutzes believed love, light, and faith could cleanse any darkness. From the very first night, something felt wrong. The air inside the house was heavy, thick, as if it resisted every breath. Doors closed on their own. Cold spots appeared in warm rooms. George woke every night at exactly 3:15 a.m., the same time the DeFeo murders were believed to have occurred. At first, George told himself it was stress, a new house, new responsibilities, but the feeling didn't fade. It grew. Kathy began having vivid nightmares. In them, she would wander the halls, following unseen footsteps, always ending at the children's room. The children, once happy and energetic, became withdrawn. Their personalities changed. Angry outbursts, long silent stares at empty corners. Their youngest daughter claimed to have an imaginary friend, a pig with glowing red eyes. The family priest was invited to bless the home. As he walked through the upstairs hallway, he felt a sudden, overwhelming chill. A deep, guttural voice whispered behind him, "Get out." Moments later, his hands blistered as if burned from within. He fled the house and refused to return. As days passed, the house itself seemed alive. A black, oily substance seeped from walls and keyholes. Swarms of flies gathered in the children's bedroom, even in the dead of winter. The smell of decay filled the air with no clear source. George's behavior changed the most. He became distant, aggressive, obsessed with the house. He spent hours staring into the fireplace, chopping wood endlessly in freezing temperatures. He stopped going to work. His eyes were always tired, sunken, as if he hadn't slept in weeks. Kathy began to feel like a stranger was living beside her. At night, the sounds started. Footsteps pacing the hall, knocking from inside the walls, the sound of furniture dragging across floors, though nothing had moved. One night, Kathy felt hands wrap around her neck while she slept. She woke screaming, gasping for air. And still, George insisted they stay. He said the house needed them. The children began waking with bruises, long, thin marks across their skin, like fingers pressed too hard. The family dog refused to enter certain rooms, growling at empty space, backing away with its tail between its legs. Every mirror in the house seemed wrong. Reflections lingered just a moment too long. Faces appeared distorted, smiling when no one was smiling. The house was watching, and it was waiting. By the 4th week, the Lutz family was unraveling. Kathy felt an invisible presence following her from room to room. She would turn suddenly, certain someone was standing behind her, only to find empty space. Yet the feeling remained, heavy, intent. George's personality continued to darken. His voice changed, low, sharp. He snapped at the children for no reason. He began speaking in ways that didn't sound like him, repeating phrases he couldn't remember saying later. The house seemed to reward his anger. One night, the children were lifted from their beds and gently placed face down, all at the same time. George and Kathy slept through it. When they discovered it the next morning, George claimed it was nothing, just sleepwalking. But Kathy knew better. She started keeping the lights on at night. It didn't help. Shadows still moved where they shouldn't. Doors slammed with enough force to shake the walls. Windows opened on their own in the middle of freezing nights. The temperature inside the house dropped dramatically, especially in one room, the former DeFeo parents' bedroom. Breath fogged in the air. The walls felt like ice. Kathy refused to enter that room again. George, however, was drawn to it. He stood there for long periods, staring at the walls, listening to something no one else could hear. He claimed voices spoke to him, told him the house was his, that he belonged there. Kathy reached out for help. Paranormal investigators arrived. During their visit, photographs were taken. In one image, a pale, childlike face appeared behind a staircase, eyes glowing, empty, watching. No one could explain it. That night, the activity exploded. The house roared with sound. Screams echoed through the halls. The smell of sulfur burned the air. Kathy saw George transform before her eyes, his face twisted with rage, veins bulging, eyes wild. He grabbed her, shouting that they could never leave. At that moment, Kathy saw the truth. Whatever lived in the house had taken hold of him. She gathered the children in silence, no lights, no bags, just fear guiding their steps. As they reached the front door, the house seemed to resist, doors jammed, locks stiff, walls groaning as if alive. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. An unnatural calm filled the house. They ran, barefoot, in the freezing night, leaving everything behind. The Lutz family never returned. Later, George would claim the house tried to kill them, that it fed on fear, on anger, on weakness, that it didn't want victims. It wanted owners. Investigators would argue for decades: hoax, truth, exaggeration, psychological breakdown. But one fact remains unchanged. The Lutz family stayed only 28 days, and they never slept peacefully again. After the Lutz family fled, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue stood silent once more. New owners moved in. Nothing happened. No voices, no shadows, no nightmares. Skeptics claimed it proved everything was a lie: stress, media attention, money. But others noticed something unsettling. The house didn't chase everyone. It chose. Those who studied the case closely pointed to patterns: the timing, the room temperatures, the behavioral changes, the way the house responded differently to each person, as if it was learning. George Lutz would later say that the house didn't want to scare them away. It wanted to break them slowly, to turn them against each other, to make them part of it. He described dreams where he was still inside the house, standing at the top of the stairs, watching new families arrive, smiling. Kathy suffered for years, anxiety, night terrors, a constant feeling of being watched. She said mirrors still frightened her, that sometimes in the dark she smelled the same decay. The children refused to talk about the house. The DeFeo murders remained officially solved, one killer, one motive. Yet neighbors reported hearing voices that night. Witnesses saw lights on and off during the killings. Ronald DeFeo claimed voices told him to do it. The house again. Today, the address has been changed, the windows altered, the eyes of the house removed. But those who stand near the water at night say the silence there is wrong, too heavy, as if something is holding its breath, waiting. Because some places don't forget. They remember every scream, every fear, every soul that tried to escape. And when the night is quiet enough, they listen.